What's up, everybody? My name is Tanner, and welcome to the Knowledge of. Today's topic is cheese wheels. Yes, those cheese wheels, the round things made out of cheese. Now, during today's video, I'm going to be putting together this Lego set 76400. All right, let's get into it. So, according to cheesemaker.ca, cheese has been around for about 8,000 years. They were used by Middle Eastern tribes for the transportation of milk and dairy. The cheese would be stored into large cylindrical wheels, hence the cheese wheel, because it was easier to transport than squares and triangles. This was mostly due to travel of long distances, especially if they were needing to trade or move lots, like large amounts of cheese. Cheese wheels can be kept as triangles or squares, but wheels are the best because one, for transportation. It is also for the hard rind to form around the cheese, protecting it from insects and bacteria. So don't get me wrong, I love a good triangle, but wheel is the way to go. By medieval times, cheese wheels had become a common household item due to their popularity within trade routes across Europe. They were widely used as currency because of their value and their portability. Now that was kind of a short snippet of the origins of the cheese wheel, not not actual cheese itself. So this is going to be kind of a shorter video because one, I do have a smaller Lego set than I am using today, but also because it was very hard to find information on the actual cheese wheel. Like I could find all sorts of information about cheese, where it came from, the different types of cheeses, how it's used, but I wanted to specifically talk about cheese wheels and why they were wheels, where they came from, and what are their effects in today's society. Now, according to cheesegrotto.com, early cheesemaking cultures during the Bronze Age, cheese wheels would be sealed into ceramic pots. These pots would allow the cheese wheel to be stored in either a salty brine or a salt alone, allowing for the preservation of the cheese. Jumping to the 18th century, it is believed that the US actually began rubbing lard and melted butter on the outside of their cheese wheels. This gave kind of a more protective coating because the temperatures in the US were a lot hotter than they were in Europe. Now, eventually, cheesemakers would start using cloth to wrap their cheese wheels. The cloth would be tightly wrapped around the cheese, and this would trap in moisture inside the cloth and would allow mold to grow onto the cloth without damaging the rind beneath it. Now, that was kind of everything I could find in kind of mid millennia to older kind of history going into today's history. Again, it was very hard to find information about cheese wheels specifically. Now, when you get into kind of the late 19th century, cheese wheels started to be coated and dipped into wax. The wax provided a stronger and more secure coating to the cheese, making for less moisture loss and giving a unique look to the cheese. Now, according to multiple different sites and sources, including the prepare.com, Reddit pages, and a lot more, cheese wheels coated in wax can last from a few years to even a decade or two and be completely fine. Now, I did find some other sources that kind of mention there be reports of cheese wheels lasting up to even a century, maybe even beyond. I don't know how true that is. I'm not a cheese scientist. I have no idea. Um, but I mean, that's kind of interesting that it can last for so long. Now, when you get to the mid 20th century, plastic wrapping was invented for sealing foods. This was and still is commonly used for cheeses and cheese wheels. Now, although this is an efficient way for packaging and shipping cheese and a lot cheaper, it can lead to different issues on the cheese wheels. The plastic doesn't allow the cheese to breathe, which then minimizes flavors. Now, one of the better options for wrapping and storing cheese is using paper. Paper allows the cheese to breathe, keeping moisture inside to preserve the flavor of the cheese, but also allowing the gases emitted by the cheese to escape. Now, that was everything I could personally find when it comes to the actual history of cheese wheels. You guys may have found more or even know more about cheese wheels, which you probably do. I'm not an expert. I just found what I could find. Um, Now, I do have some extra knowledge for you guys that just kind of, some random tidbits of information. Now, this extra knowledge is actually crazy. Now, this comes directly from the Smithsonian Magazine from 2019. So, a Swiss cheesemaker, Beat Wamfler, and I could be totally butchering that, so I apologize. But Beat Wamfler and a group of researchers from Bern University played music to cheese as it aged to see if it would change the flavors of the cheese. The cheese listened to multiple different types of music, such as Led Zeppelin, A Tribe Called Quest, and Mozart. It was determined at the end that the cheese that listened to hip hop had the biggest flavor, whereas the cheeses that listened to Led Zeppelin and Mozart had more of mild flavors. The goal of the experiment was to prove that sound waves can also have an effect on cheese flavors rather than just being humidity, temperature, and nutrients. I think that's an actually crazy experiment and it's extremely fascinating. And here is the final product. All right, folks, now that is everything that I could find over cheese wheels. You guys probably know a lot more. Maybe you have more information about cheese, or maybe you're cheese experts. I have no idea. Let me know down in the comments. Now, if you like this sort of content, these sort of videos, please let me know. I'm really happy to make more. I definitely have a lot more topics that I want to dive into. If you like the Lego thing, let me know down in the comments as well. I definitely have a couple more ideas for that. But thanks for watching.